So before we go through the level itself, there's a few important things that we need to know. The first thing is that it's always best to hold left click when using the katana and when using the fireball. This also applies when swapping from fireball to katana and vice versa. The next thing is when you slide on the ground with a fireball card, you get an extra speed boost. So it's better to look down to the ground instead of up. If you look up, you don't really get a great slide, but if you look down, you get a good slide for the whole duration. The next thing you need to understand is how parries work in this game. So when you deflect or shoot an enemy projectile, you get a speed boost. You get a larger boost on the ground compared to the air. So what you want to do is shoot on the ground or deflect on the ground, and then jump the next frame. You get the larger speed boost, but none of the friction. The last thing is the phantom parry. So you can actually deflect an enemy projectile that you've already shot. This gives an even bigger speed boost, but it's a little more difficult to do. At the start of the level, you walk down the steps a bit and then jump to pick up the fireball card with your toes. Then you aim at the same height as this corner part sticking out of the room and above the flower pot. So aim there and discard, and you'll get a good slide into the first room. Before you pick up the second card, you want to jump to preserve your speed. And when you do pick up the card, you want to instantly discard it and go through the red wall. If you do this part perfect, you'll get something called Quick Start. You can see my ghost is already ahead after the second discard. After you slide through the door, you want to jump just as the sidewalls are leaving your field of view. After this jump, when you see the question mark above the right barnacle's head, that's your cue to discard onto the next platform. When you do discard, you want to aim just below the bottom left of the ring, and you want to discard to the left side of this platform, around here. As soon as you discard this fireball, make sure you're holding the weapon swap button, bound to Q by default. This will allow you to immediately switch out your fireball card to the katana when you pick it up. When you pick up the card, hold left click on the two barnacles to deflect their bullets, and jump after the first deflect to get a grounded boost. Then hold jump and swap the fireball to take out this guardian. If you're having trouble with barnacle deflects, you could be jumping too late coming out of the tunnel, or you could be jumping too early. Once your next jump is started, discard onto the waterway. Aim above the middle of the waterway and then turn while you discard, and you'll get a very good boost. If you don't get a good speed boost at the waterway, you either haven't covered enough distance, you've discarded too early, or you've aimed too high with your discard. Also keep in mind that sometimes this bench can eat your jump input, so try to stay away from it if you can. Follow the curvature of the waterway and pick up the fireball card with your left shoulder. After you pick up this fireball card, you want to snipe this right side barnacle with the outer pellets, like this. The lineup for these shots is going to change depending on your field of view. So with 80 field of view, for example, you want to use the very right edge of the fireball hexagon, like this. And if you're using a higher field of view, such as 105, you can see that the lineup here will be the very tip of the right line on the inside of the crosshair. So I really do recommend finding out what the lineup will look like with your field of view. It's going to make things much easier. You'll need to move your crosshair a little bit up and to the right so that the second shot will also hit the barnacle. Once you fire both shots, slide to the ground and pick up the fireball card with your right shoulder. There's two different ways to do this next section. The first is to get a grounded phantom parry from this left barnacle. The second is to just do a grounded boost on the left barnacle and do a backup shot on the right barnacle. Try to discard as quickly as you can up to the first balcony. The longer you wait, the worse the fireball angle will become. When you do discard, you want to aim for the back edge of the balcony ceiling. Try to avoid clipping your toes when you discard onto the balcony. Ideally, you want to get a small slide onto the first balcony. If you do, let yourself slide for a short time, and then jump. If you don't, then you just want to jump immediately. Discard onto the second balcony at the peak of your jump. Aim at the same height as this pillar coving here. Take a tight line into the corner and jump early. You want to be at the peak of your jump as you turn the corner. Discard instantly when you turn the corner. Here you can clearly see the difference between a fast discard and a slow discard. You want to hit the very side of each balloon. Visualize them pushing you forward towards the goal. After hitting the first balloon, you can take your time between the other discards, so don't panic. If you hit one of the balloons in the center, you want to discard a bit faster to minimize time loss. But don't discard too quickly. If you discard too quickly, you'll run out of speed before you hit the next balloon. When you've hit the final balloon, aim as horizontally as possible towards the end goal. You may need to aim a little bit upwards so you don't hit the wall. If possible, try to get a small slide at the end if you can to save a little more time. This will be easier to do if you hit the last balloon a little bit higher. And that's the tutorial. There will also be a written guide available in the description below. Massive thank you to Marco and Tamari for helping me make the script, and shout out to Pretzel for bringing back the Phantom Parry strat. If you have any more questions, you can reach out to us on Discord. Our ads will also be available in the description. And other than that, thanks for watching.